I think that the 2023 season is going to be remembered in the disc golf history books as the beginning of a new era. I've talked a lot about this here on The Wind Read, but this weekend, this narrative was only more set in stone. It's only fitting that in a year of parity and change and young talent finding their stride, that at the 2023 World Championships, one of the most impressive streaks in disc golf history, sadly, came to an end. And that is, of course, Paul McBeth's legendary streak at Worlds. If you weren't aware, Paul McBeth has finished either second or first at every single World Championships for a decade. That's not some fluke or coincidental statistic. That is dominance. And that statistic alone, in my opinion, represents an era of disc golf that has just written its final chapter. And it's not that I'm implying McBeth is done for or will never see success at Worlds again. Of course not. But what it does show is that the game has transitioned to a different place now. And this weekend, that was hallmarked by an otherworldly performance by your new one-time world champion, Isaac Robinson. My name is Mason, and welcome to The Wind Read. Today, we are going to unpack the biggest tournament of the year, the 2023 World Championships, and what its results might mean for the state of our game. Let's get into it. Let's start with the FPO. I plan on making something later in the year unpacking Kristin Tattar's season because what's happening is otherworldly. Let me just say, remember what we are witnessing. In the moment, it's easy to normalize Kristin's dominance. She's playing a league above the rest at almost every event this year, and even more so at the majors. It's become almost routine, but dominance like this never lasts forever. We're watching right now, right in front of us, one of the greatest, if not the greatest season of FPO disc golf has ever and may ever see. Remember it, this is history in the making. At Smuggler's Notch this weekend, Kristin once again shot over 1,000 rated disc golf for the event and could not be caught. Here's Tattar's statistics for the tournament. It's interesting that no numbers really stick out. Kristin didn't dominate one aspect of the game, but her consistency and versatility set her apart in the end. But like I said, we'll talk more about Kristin's run this year in the future. I think that Missy Gannon definitely deserves credit for her performance this weekend. She gave Kristin a genuine fight and showed through her interviews and obviously with her play on the course that she's not going to back down from the challenge. If not for Missy Gannon, Kristin wins this thing by 12 strokes. Also on the podium, you have Holyn Handley, who's quietly putting together a really impressive resume in 2023. I remember last year when Holyn came onto the Pro Tour and was beginning to break into the conversation with top 10 finishes again and again. It's now podium finishes again and again. I think a win for Holyn Handley on the Pro Tour is not an if, but a win. We've still not seen her ceiling, and she has all of the tools to really start affecting the division. Props to her. Looking at MPO, let's first talk about the podium. Tied for third was Matty O and Eagle McMahon, and then in second place was none other than Anthony Barella. If you didn't watch the back half of the final round, please go do yourself a favor and do so, because these three guys put on a show. Matty O was lacing fairways and making ridiculous putts. The fact that after all these years, Matty O is still doing what he's doing at the level he is should not be taken lightly. This is a walking legend of disc golf, gracing us with highlights year after year. I really want Orem to pick up a win sometime soon. Eagle and AB on the same card is ridiculous in its own right. These are single-handedly the two furthest throwers of the disc on tour, and watching them both go Eagle on the 1,100-foot hole 12 on the same card was absolutely incredible. The story of Eagle's Worlds was the story of two halves. Here's his round ratings for the first two rounds. His round 3 was about average, and then here's his round ratings for the last two rounds. Eagle was unconscious at Fox Run Meadows those last 2 days. It reminded me very much of his major run at the European Open, if only he'd started stronger. The World Championship was the best finish ever for Anthony Barella at a major. And to be honest, I'm surprised. I don't think that these were the types of courses that Barella would necessarily succeed on. Elite distance really doesn't give you as much of an advantage here as it would somewhere like Deglow or Jonesboro, but I was definitely proven wrong. Despite his absurd distance ability, AB has developed really nice touch in the woods. His ability to slow down, go putter or mid-range, and throw these effortless 400-foot wooded shots is amazing. This part of his game has come a long way. I think it's also a bit of a statement that Anthony finished in second place here after unraveling at the previous major. The questions surrounding his ability to close out tournaments, of course, still remain, but he can build off of his first major podium ever. Then we get to disc golf's newest world champion, Isaac Robinson. People forget just how quickly Isaac's rise to the top unfolded. He'd previously played a few of the big tournaments in the Southeast, but Isaac Robinson first went fully on tour just last year. Within weeks, he was making statements. First at the Portland Open in 2022, where he put on a Circle 2 putting clinic. Then of course, he went and won Idlewild, an event that is typically very close. He won by 4 strokes. Then he rounded out his rookie year with a second place finish at GMC and a second place finish at the Tour Championship. That was his first season. Here we are in year 2 and Robinson is breaking records. This is the shortest amount of time between an MPO player's first and second major win ever. Winning 2 majors is historic in its own right, and it's the first time in 4 years that an MPO player has won 2 majors on the season. At the beginning of 2023, if someone had told you that there'd be a player in MPO that would have won 2 of the majors, who do you think it'd be? I think maybe I would imagine Rick or Calvin or Paul, but the season hasn't played out that way. What's also interesting is that Isaac's major wins have really not been all that close down the stretch. Champions Cup certainly wasn't, and we knew by hole 16 at World this year that it was pretty much in the bag for Isaac. Now, do I think that Isaac Robinson is the next dominant force in the division? Not entirely. It's worth pointing out that these 2 courses very much align with Robinson's style of play. It's no secret that Isaac is lethal in the woods. In fact, I think he's the best wooded disc golfer in the world right now, so it's no surprise that he had great performances at Brewster Ridge. And while Fox Run Meadows is definitely more open, it contains a lot of the technicality that Isaac thrives upon. These courses played to his strengths, and Isaac took it and ran with it. What's interesting is looking at Robinson's stats and seeing how he got it done. Isaac has traditionally been a fantastic putter, but his world championship title did not come off the back of world-class putting. No, he was 46th in the field in Circle 1 putting and 141st from Circle 2. I can only imagine how many more strokes could have been had if he'd putted closer to his average. Despite all of this, Isaac's second major title was won from the tee. He finished the tournament first in strokes gained tee to green, first in park percentage, first in Circle 1 regulation, second in fairway hits, and second in Circle 2 in regulation. His accuracy off the tee was impeccable. And stylistically, I'm a fan of how he plays the game. If you look at the top 10 to 15 players in MPO, every single one of them has incredibly versatile backhand, forehand ability that they utilize every single round, except for Isaac Robinson. Holes that are clearly easier to execute with a forehand, Isaac attacks with difficult backhand turnovers that he makes look routine. One of the most underrated aspects of his game, in my opinion, is his height control. Isaac always gives his putters and his mids enough height to work their magic, but not too high that he's catching tree branches. He's crafted his own style of play that best suits him, and this weekend, he executed it to perfection. The World Championships is the premier event in our sport. This weekend showcased the best of our sport, playing 5 laser-focused rounds on one of the most beautiful properties in disc golf. It did not disappoint. And there's so much to be gleaned from the results. Kristen's continued dominance, the changing of the guard in MPO. What stories are still to be told as we close out a historic 2023 season? I can't wait to see. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Wind Read. Until the next one.